What's up, everybody? Hello, hello. Hello, hello. What's up? A special 10 o'clock Friday night edition. John marks the spot. And yes, I do have something to add to the Howard Eskin story conversation. Shameless plug before we start that. If you haven't seen me or what I'm doing right now, maybe you're like, hey, Johnny Marks, haven't seen you in a while since you left WIP, which, by the way, was over a year. I've been out at WIP for over a year. It's kind of been a quick year in some respects, but it's been over a year. And I am now at PHLY hosting a show called PHLY with John Marks. It's every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m., 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern. I have a little banner here that I can run on the bottom. Right, here we go. There we go. Yep. You can get it on YouTube. Obviously, it's the PHLY YouTube. Just smash that subscribe button, and you can watch it live, as many people do, and they get involved in the chat. You can watch it whenever. It's also available if you have Xfinity. Just talking into the remote and say PHLY, and we have a 24-hour channel for PHLY. Anthony Organo's show, our Sixers show with Kyle and Derek and Devon Gibbons, our Eagles show with Bo and Zach Berman and Jamie Lynch, and Jamie kind of bounces around and does a bunch of other things. Our Flyer show, Bill Matz, Broad Street Hockey. Charlie does a great job. We have great content at PHLY, Roku TV, all the fast channels, they call them, Samsung TV, and audio podcasts. So if you like to listen to the audio podcast, you're in your car, my show's up every day about 9 a.m. So wherever you find your podcasts, you can find me, CVS, Walgreens, Dwayne Reedy, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. So check me out. It's going to be a fun new year. Have some new things planned for the show. Anyway, like I said, shameless plug, because you want to hear what I have to say about Howard. So the reporting that came down today, which was Jeff McClain and Matt Breen of the Inquirer, reporting that Howard forcibly grabbed a female Odyssey employee. And just for reference, this was the day after, it was the Monday Brandon Graham show, that Brandon in the first segment. So A.J. Brown said that the passing offense wasn't okay. And Brandon Graham came on his own show on WIP, which I hosted with Howard for 7 seasons, 7 years. And he said that, AJ can't do that. And there's something going on with them and they're not friends. Everybody knows that story, what Brandon said. And it set off a total shitstorm, which lasted many days into the next week. And everything appears to be okay. And maybe it was overblown. I don't know. But apparently it happened that night. All right. So Jeff McClain, Matt Breen of the Inquirer write that he forcibly grabbed the female Odyssey employee at Chickies and Pete's that same night. Brandon Graham spoke about Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. Quote, the Odyssey employee interrupted a conversation Eskin was having with Graham, talking about Brandon Graham, a source said. Eskin yelled at her, and the employee tried to leave the scene before Eskin followed her and grabbed her, sources said. The incident was witnessed by others at the restaurant and created a commotion, according to sources. So Angelo Cataldi goes on Dan Silio's show on Jacob Media and says the following. I'm reading from Crossing Broad here. He had gotten word from Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, to get Graham out of there because Graham had said there were some issues. He acknowledged there was a little bit of a problem between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. Get him out, he said. Too much already. Get him out of the building. Howard was just trying to follow the instructions of the owner of the Eagles, Jeffrey Lurie. That's how the whole thing evolved. He grabbed her by the arm, not to hurt her, not in a menacing way, just in a frustrated way. She said, don't touch me, and he touched her again. That's what set the whole thing into motion. That's why ultimately it took 11 days. They came to an agreement that he would resign. That's what actually happened. I was not the witness that day, but heard it 5 times from people in 11 days, and the Inquirer couldn't get the story. So it appeared from what Angelo said that Howard, who is always accused of carrying the Eagles' water, was texted by Jeffrey Lurie after Brandon Graham started going and talking about A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. And ultimately, that's what cost Howard his job, was continuing to carry the water for the Eagles and following a directive from the owner. So before I add any more context to this, and I will say that most of this is, I think, fair and correct. Just to put everything in context, as I said, I did this show with Howard. Merrill Reese did it for a number of years with us, for 7 seasons. So when the Eagles are good, and this year, obviously, they're very good. They won the Super Bowl. They went back to a Super Bowl. When they're very good, Chickies and Pete's on a Monday night for the Brandon Graham show, and then afterwards for the Players Lounge with Ike, because Ike has Jordan Mailata or another notable Eagles player there. So it's like, if you're an Eagles fan, to come down, possibly get an autograph, see the show, see the guys, is a pretty cool experience. But when they're really good, and especially now with Brandon being elevated to being one of the all-time athletes in this town, it is nuts down at Chickies and Pete's. And I'm just talking about it from my perspective. Even not when the show starts at 6 o'clock, I would be getting DMs and emails and people leading up to the show. Johnny Marks, I have this jersey. Can you get a sign for my kid? I have the Inquirer front page in the sports section from the day after they won the Super Bowl. Just from people in my personal life, I got Brandon and I appreciated it. I got stuff signed for charities, like for Darren Dalton Foundation. I'm friends with some people there, and Mark Abellino, and they can you get this sign? I'm like, absolutely, sure, anything for you, right? So like, and Brandon is very generous with the fans that come out, giving autographs, taking pictures, etc. But when there's hundreds of people there, it's very, very difficult for everybody to be seen and everybody to get pictures and autographs and everything else. But like, there's people that are coming up. So at the Chickies and Pete's in South Philly, we're kind of up on the stage. If you've never been there, you've been there. We're kind of up on that stage against the wall to the parking lot. And, there's people that are trying to get as close to you as possible to get your attention. Hey, can you do this, do that? So it's complete chaos. Anytime that when the Eagles suck, there's not a lot of people in there. It's just like, whatever. When the Eagles are really good, it's the place to be. All the news stations are there. Everybody's trying to get a piece of Brandon Graham. So I can understand how hectic it can be. Forget about doing a show. So then you go to commercial, and then people are lined up, and Brandon's signing autographs, and he's taking pictures. And here's another element that a lot of people may not know. So WIP, as the rights holder to the Eagles Radio and the owner of Eagles Radio Network, they pay so much money for these broadcasts. They have to leverage that in as many ways as possible. So, yeah, of course, selling ads during the games that are very expensive, but also during football season. You know what WIP's ratings look like during football season. There's a reason, right? So, like, another thing that they do is that there are clients that spend a lot of money with WIP and with some of other Odyssey stations that are invited to come down and to enjoy a great Chickies and Pete's dinner. And then, like, hey, you want to meet Brandon Graham? You want to take a picture with Brandon Graham? I mean, I've seen it year after year after year, and it's good business. It's what you do. It's why you have the Eagles. So, like, and there's people that, like Make-A-Wish people and kids that have pediatric cancer. And there's a lot of people trying to grab Brandon's attention. And there's a lot of people trying to grab Brandon. Can you take a picture with this person? Can you sign this jersey? Can you do this? Can you do that? Mind you, these are during 3 5-minute commercial breaks. Not a lot of time. All right. So everything that I read and I heard, like, I can see it because I lived it. Right. I lived it. So when I read that Howard was having a conversation with Brandon, I'm sure that was happening. And was it about what happened with Brandon speaking about AJ and Jalen Hurts during that first segment? I don't know. I don't know that. I have texted with Howard, nothing about this. I just said, hey man, how you doing? I didn't ask him any details at all. Any of the times that I've spoken to him, I just just kind of checked in on him. Anyway, so number one, Howard Eskin was not texted by Jeff Lurie. I thought that sounded weird from the start. And I don't know if Angelo said it wrong or he was not texted directly by Jeffrey Lurie. I was told Big Dom was texted by Jeffrey Lurie. Big Dom, in the 7 years that I did these broadcasts, not one time I don't think that he wasn't there. He sits up top, he eats dinner, he talks to people, he makes sure that everything's all right. You know, like he's not working security necessarily, but he's always working security. That's Dom's job. So I'm told that Jeffrey Lurie texted Big Dom with the concerns about what Brandon Graham was saying about A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. And guess what? I would have done the same thing. If I was Howie Roseman, I would have done the same thing. Howie Roseman may have called before, not this year, but when I was working, Howie Roseman may have called Brandon before about some things that may have been said on the show or not been said. So they know what's going on. That's why Big Dom's is down there. So Jeffrey Lurie did not text Howard Eskin, and Howard was not taking a directive from Jeffrey Lurie and going down there and now trying to get him out of the building. So I don't believe that's what I don't believe that's that really would, but the story does make sense that Howard was talking to him, and whoever the female employee was from Odyssey probably was trying to get Brandon to sign an autograph, to meet somebody, to take a picture with, whether it was somebody that was like a charity person or maybe even a client or a family member of a client. I don't know those details. All I know is that it makes total sense of everything else that I'm hearing. Okay. The biggest reason why I said, you know what, I'm going to go on and I'm going to stream tonight is that I had, I don't know, hundreds of people tweet me, DM me, friends and acquaintances texting me directly, asking who the female employee was from Odyssey. And because there's really only a handful of notable female employees that the public would know, Ava, Rhea, Devin, and is it Ashley that Sullivan or Ashlyn? I'm sorry, I haven't listened, or I know that she's doing a lot of stuff with that. But so like they're the obvious ones. And I got a ton of people saying it must have been Ava, it must have been Devin. It was not Ava, it was not Devin. It was somebody that nobody out there knows who they are. It's an Odyssey employee. It's a female Odyssey employee. That's how it was stated, and that's exactly how I'm going to leave it. It wasn't anybody that you know. Trust me. It was not Ava. So leave Ava alone. Leave Devin alone. Leave anybody else that you think it might have been. You have no idea who it was. It was a female Odyssey employee, and I will leave it at that. So Big Dom was texted, not Howard, and it is absolutely positively not anybody that you know was involved in this particular incident with Howard Eskin. So that's what I know. And unfortunately, if you're Howard, because of what happened down at Citizens Bank Park a couple of months ago, there was really no way that he was going to get away from this, because also it did create a commotion. Not everybody knew about it. Like BG didn't know about it. Brandon didn't know about it because he has 1,000 people trying to talk to him. But like it did create a commotion. It certainly did create a commotion. So if that whatever happened with Howard a couple months ago didn't happen, would he still be with WIP? You know, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure about that. But unfortunately, this was his undoing. He also, if you've noticed, Jeff McClain, Matt Breen. Interesting that Jeff McClain was very, very into, and I feel like when I read the story, I could read the story that I could hear Jeff McClain typing it. Because if you're Jeff McClain, or I know Mike Sealski, who laid a beat down to Howard in a column in the Inquirer today, or even Kevin Kincaid from Crossing Broad, you know, I love Howard. Howard's always been good to me. He hasn't been great to everybody else. I think he called Mike Sealski Mike Squealski for many, many years, and he hasn't been very complimentary of Jeff McClain in some of his articles. And he has ripped Crossing Broad over and over and over again. So when you're down and you're trying to get up, and they know that. Yeah, they're gonna pounce. They're gonna come off the top rope. So, and that's what they've done, and that's what a lot of people did. And you know what? The way that Howard operated, and the way that Howard, for many years, his reputation and his behavior and everything else, his personality, it's like he had to know it was coming. Had to know it was coming. So that's the deal. I have really nothing else to say about the actual situation, because I told you everything that I know, and I gave you kind of the context of what happens at the Chickies and Pete's. If you're Odyssey, you have no choice to do what you had to do. It sucks, because someone like me, I just turned 48 a couple weeks ago. I don't know Philadelphia sports without Howard. He repped gold medal sporting goods. There was one over in the Willow Grove Mall, right where I grew up. He was the honored guest at the Upper Moreland Little League opening day. I think it was like 1987. Him and Steve Jeltz were the dignitaries that day. And I'm not telling you I listened to Howard on WIP for all the years that he was on, but he's certainly the first sports personality that I knew. And then for 4 years that I worked with Mike Piscinelli, I was a part of the show that went head to head with Howard. And then when I went to WIP, I worked with Howard, did the Brandon Graham show with him. And Howard's been absolutely positively fabulous to me. And I love Howard. I can't justify anything that he's been accused of or anything he's done or anything like that. So I'll just have to leave it at that. But I don't know if he's going to have somewhere to go. I don't know if there's going to be a TV station that is willing to even bring him on as a contributor so he can be down at games. I don't know. I don't know if he's just going to have to do a podcast or something like that. But it sure feels like right now, with Howard being 73 and all this stuff going down, and now additional details coming out. And Angelo even said it, that it wasn't menacing or anything like that. Other than the big Dom or that Jeffrey Lurie texted him, is that, and this is Angelo's word, he grabbed her by the arm, not to hurt her and not in a menacing way, just in a frustrated way. Like, hey, come back here. And she said, don't touch me. And he touched her again. That, according to Angelo. It's believable. And unfortunately, it's going to be the end of Howard, at least at WIP for right now. So you may see Howard on YouTube like me. I don't know about PHLY. Maybe Jacob Media will come calling, and he'll be able to get it like that. But that's the story as I know it. And that's, I don't know if it's as exciting as everybody thought. There's Kevin Kincaid from Crossing Broad. He's taking a shower. There we go. I don't know. Someone said Odyssey, and I don't know the context of it. Like, if you're Odyssey, what did Odyssey do? I think they were put in a tough spot with the first incident with Howard. And again, I don't know the details of that. Let me say this. When the story came out that he inappropriately gave an employee a kiss down at the Phillies in April or May, whenever that happened, here's what I said at the time. I said that if he really was a serial sexual harasser, or just the skeezy old guy, guess what's going to happen? There's going to be people to come out, and then he's going to be gone. So if he really was this crumb, this predator that was out there doing what he was alleged to do to the employee of the Phillies, then there would have been people lining up, as you see all the time, to say, yes, this happened to me. Yes, this happened to me. Not one person came out. So that told me that, was this something that was a pattern of behavior, or was this an isolated incident? To me, it was an isolated incident, because I didn't hear anybody say anything else. And Howard has been around a long time. Now, had he been inappropriate, or I know the story with the flowers, he sent flowers to the woman and the husband, and she ended up getting killed. Howard's past is Howard's past. Howard very much has a reputation, and he doesn't have anybody but himself to blame for anything that happened before. And that's only going to hurt him in situations like that. But that was an isolated incident. So that's the way I looked at it. But grabbing a female employee of Odyssey, somebody that you work for, after he was given the benefit of the doubt and he remained in his job, the only thing that the company could do is to part ways with him. So there you go. That is the story. And by the way, on my show, Philly with John Marks on PHLY, because the Fanatic's not going to talk about this, and because WIP, other than I know Spike talked about it, WIP's not going to talk about this. Guess what I get to talk about? This. I talk about whatever I want to on PHLY. Isn't that why I have the show? Is so I don't have to worry about like the incident with Elliott and Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun called him out on his podcast and everything else. Elliott wouldn't discuss it. Nobody on the air at WIP would discuss it. People got pissed that no one would discuss it. And it's like, what do you want them to say? Right? Like, management's probably telling them not to say anything about it. You certainly don't want to throw Elliott under the bus. It puts the host in a bad situation. That's all I'm saying. If I would have been working at WIP, I wouldn't have talked about it because it wouldn't have been fair to one of my teammates. And I love Elliott. You know what I mean? Like, Elliott and I are good. I always have Elliott's back, despite what everybody out there is probably going to say. So, like, with this thing with Howard, WIP's they can't talk about this. Howard, Spike brought it up. He should have brought it up just to address it. They can't talk about this in depth. I can. So, there you go. That's the story with everything. So now can we get back to the regularly scheduled program, which is Jalen Hurts? Not Jalen Hurts. Saquon Barkley. Should Saquon Barkley be starting on Sunday? 215-592-9494. 610-632-0975. 610-632-0975. 888. No, it's a 215 number now. Yeah, I mean, and that's the I was dismissive of that story from the start. I talked about it pretty much every day for 5 minutes, but I don't have to fill 4 hours of time now. So guess what I don't have to do? I don't have to come up with a fake opinion like somebody that works 4 hours on radio does. And I won't mention any names. And I love the people that do it, but I don't have to manufacture opinions and say, yeah, here's the reasons why he should have started, because there's no reasons why he should have played. And thank God Nick Sirianni isn't an idiot like everybody else. Yeah, I mean, believe me, that's what I would have been talking about all week as well. You know why? Because what else are we going to talk about? They have the number 2 seed. They can't do anything about it. So what else are you going to talk about? Let me see here. When the owner of football teams is aware of the situation, you know there were real issues. Well, all right, whatever. What else can I put here? Hold on a second. I got other banners to play so you can see me. My email. And it says here, follow me on all platforms at John Marks Media. So subscribe on YouTube. And then that's also Instagram and Twitter. And you can follow me on there. It's also my email. See that? Email me, johnmarksmedia@gmail.com. That's how you can get a hold of me. I'm on Blue Sky, but I haven't actually ever done anything on it. And Threads is epically boring or bad. And it's bad enough that I go on Twitter and I try to look at my Twitter mentions. The people are mean to me all the time. Oh man, they're mean. Oh, look, even Jacob Sports is watching tonight. What's up? Is that Xander? What's up, guys? Yeah, and I did see that actually. I saw that Eitan had tweeted out. Thank you, Vince. Eitan had tweeted out that he needed 3 months to fix 97.5, and then he would beat WIP in 3 months. That's it. That's all you would need. 3 months. That easy. That easy. You just got to. Oh, he's got it. There you go. So yeah, I mean that's what are we on here live stream? Yeah, we're on for nearly 30 minutes. So I'll do this maybe once a week. I haven't done it in a couple of weeks because of the holidays or whatever. But I'm usually on here with my buddy Delco Steve. So check me out. Subscribe on YouTube. So hopefully a lot of people are going to watch this right here. But again, hold on. Here's a good one right here. I mean, I'm not a big fan of red, but bro, that's 4 minutes from me over. Love this version. Thanks, bro. Yeah, this is kind of what I want to do. Is I want to just be totally honest and not have to have an opinion on everything or not have to have a hard opinion on everything. Like, for example, Dan Orlovsky, who I like. I do. I like Dan Orlovsky. I think he's good. But when you work for ESPN and you want that next contract, right? Like Dan Orlovsky becomes a big star. And when you start become a big star to network, those dollar signs, look how much money Stephen A. Smith's making. Now, he's not making that money, but if you want to make $1 million a year, $2 million a year, and Dan Orlovsky's not a guy that made a lot of money in the NFL. He's a backup. I mean, he's more money than me, but like he doesn't have to not work. So what do? Well, you listen to management at ESPN that says, here's how we make you a star at ESPN. And it means you got to have a take. Well, like he might not be as much of a takesman as Skip or Stephen A. Smith, but he's like a junior takesman compared to those guys. He's always got something, right? So Orlovsky comes out yesterday and they're talking about Saquon Barkley, and it became official that they weren't doing it. And Greeny comes out and he's like, yeah, like, what is your reaction to them not playing? And Orlovsky comes out and he says, well, they better win the Super Bowl. So it's like, hang on a second, Dan. You're telling me that because the Eagles aren't playing Saquon Barkley to go for an individual rushing record, now they got to win the Super Bowl. Because if they did play him, now you don't have to win the Super Bowl. There's no expectation of winning the Super Bowl. If they lose in the divisional round, but Saquon Barkley got the rushing record. He legitimately, with a straight face, said, well, they better win the whole thing now. They're independent of each other. They have to win the whole thing regardless of whether he gets the record or he doesn't get the record. There's not a damn Eagle fan on the planet that's going to care if the Eagles lose before the Super Bowl or even in the Super Bowl if Saquon Barkley gets the rushing record. Now, if they get to the Super Bowl and they lose, you can look back on the season and say, but look at Saquon Barkley. I get it. All else being equal, I would love for Saquon Barkley to get the record in a game that meant something. If it would have against the Giants and they were still playing for the number 1 seed, go get $150. Crush that record, brother. Make sure nobody beats it. The game was meaningless. So to act like there is some reason that you play your freaking starters who haven't had a bye since week 5 to go for an individual rushing record after you gave them 31 carries in the final game so he could get over 2,000. If you thought they were going to play the starters, then I'm not sure what to tell you. It's as silly as Juan Soto signing with the Phillies. It's conversation. It's not something that was actually going to happen. All right? So he wasn't playing, and I knew he wasn't playing, and he shouldn't have played. So I don't have to fill 4 hours a day, so I don't have to play out the string to where you're creating, listen, they should be rolling going into the playoffs. No, it's crap. And everybody knows it is. So there you go. What else do we have to talk about here? Where's Vince? What else do we have to talk about here in the with the Eagles? Well, so let me also say this about the Eagles, that I feel great about this team going into the playoffs. Now with one caveat. It's the Jalen Hurts. Not that I think that he's not going to play, because he's obviously going to play. He's still in concussion protocol, which is somewhat concerning. But this isn't exactly how you drew it up. You were floating into the playoffs, even if you weren't the number 2 seed. It was working out perfectly. All right, you're not the number 2 seed, but this team can win on the road. It'll be a hell of a tough challenge if they have to go to Detroit. But who knows? Maybe you don't even have to go to Detroit or Minnesota, by the way. Minnesota could be the number 1 seed. Yeah, but still, you feel really good about being the number 2 seed with this team having a very balanced attack between offense, defense, passing, rushing, and everything else. And then Jalen gets the concussion, and then he doesn't play again against the Cowboys, and he's obviously not playing this week. It's not exactly how you wanted to go into the postseason, him not playing for a couple of weeks. Could he be out of sync? Could he be rusty? Yeah, of course he could. But that's no excuse. But it does give you a little bit of a sick feeling in your stomach, like, oh, Christ. What are we doing here? But it is what it is, and at least they're going to have everybody else healthy, including Dallas Goedert going to be back apparently. Also, Nick Sirianni. I saw Jeremy Fowler wrote this on ESPN, I believe yesterday, where he said a lot of people around the league are asking, is Nick Sirianni back? if the Eagles were to lose in the wild card round. Now, I don't want to talk this into an existence. I think it's worth discussing, but I'm not like rooting for this to happen or talking this into existence, nor do I think it's going to happen. But if the Eagles were to lose in the wild card round, I can tell you what reaction is going to be in this city afterwards, and it's going to be fire Nick Sirianni, right? There's nobody out there that's going to disagree with that. You can put it in the chat. Nick Sirianni is going to be the scapegoat. It's going to be fire Nick Sirianni. It was fire Nick Sirianni even after they started the season slow. I thought that the Browns game, the Saints game could be potential. They're going to fire Nick Sirianni if they lose this game. Coming off of last season, I think it's easy to say that, where they totally collapsed. If they started 1-2 or 1-3, I think they would have whacked them, but they didn't. So this is where I think you have a legitimate conversation. The talent that's on this team and the window that they have right now, there's no excuse to lose in the wild card round of the playoffs, even if Jalen Hurts hasn't played in a couple of weeks. Nick Sirianni's been pointed out all 4 seasons with the Eagles as head coach. They've made the playoffs in each of those seasons. They've also lost in the first round of the playoffs in 2 of those seasons. So they made the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. They lost to the Bucs. They lost to the Bucs. Now, the first year is the first year, right? Can't give them crap about that. Last year, I don't know who thought they were going to beat the Bucs, other than you were still looking at the first half team, not the second half team. But like Nick Sirianni doesn't get off the hook because the team fell apart. Nick Sirianni gets the microscope on him because of that. So if they were to lose in the first round, you're saying Nick Sirianni, sure, he's made the playoffs 4 straight years. He's also lost in the first round of the playoffs 3 of those 4 years. And that's not good. So I believe that he should be back and that he will be back. But I'm not going to tell you that he's not 100% on the clock at that point, because he was on the clock this year. And the Eagles had a hell of a season. And I got to give Nick credit. I do, because I was one of the ones that I thought it was a real chance he was going to get fired last year. He fought for his job. He kept it. I'm glad Jeffrey Lurie did. It really would have been a knee-jerk reaction to fire him coming off a Super Bowl year. Losing in the first round, I don't know how Howie Roseman and Jeff Lurie are going to look at that. Let me read you the passage from what Fowler said. And I actually have it right here. All right. He said, Nick Sirianni has quieted the preseason noise with the Eagles' 13-3 season. With a first-round playoff exit, reignite talks about his job status. It's hard to say, but it's a question some people around the league are wondering. Sirianni's 47-20 record is impressive, yet his standing was a talking point coming off a tumultuous 2023 campaign, and he doesn't have a contract extension in place. The sideline and on-the-field spats are sort of hard to ignore. Any firing here would be a sizable upset, but if we're talking about surprises, this would be on the list because his status was a regular debate 4 months ago. So, the sideline stuff, we don't worry about that stuff when the team's winning. When the team's not winning, then you look at it and say, nobody else is acting like that. He pisses me off with a lot of it. The kids being brought up to the press conference. There was only a few times in the last year that I wish I was on the radio the next day, and that was one of them. I launched on Nick Sirianni bringing his kids up to that press conference. They knew exactly what they were doing. That was cold. That'll never happen again. I was told that will never happen again. And that's a directive from the family. Those kids are never going to be up there again, nor should they. That was very poor taste, and that pissed me off as a parent. It really did. But Nick has really handled everything since then really, really well. The Saquon Barkley thing, right? Like, he said, we're going to talk about it. He talked about it with the team. He talked about it with the organization. He talked about it with the position coach. He talked about it with Saquon Barkley, and he made the decision. And Saquon handled it like an absolute pro, but Nick did a really, really good job. He handled the Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown situation very, very well. The team's 13-3, and everybody on here right now believes that they're going to win the Super Bowl. So if they lose in the first round, people are going to be pissed, but Nick Sirianni will be back, and he should be back. So I would be shocked. I would be shocked unless he totally bungled it and went for two when he should have went for two, or didn't kick a field goal when he should have kicked a field goal. Something like that. That changes everything. But yeah, so there you go. One other thing here. Carson Wentz starting for the Chiefs on Sunday is awesome. And I can't wait to see the Wentz wagon. Now, is the LTBB still a thing? I know it was disbanded, or it was, at least a lot of people haven't been talking about it. But the fact that Carson Wentz is back and he gets to start a game with Andy Reid, let the Bronco buck, as many people once said. What's up, mid-major, Matt? The Bronco. Yeah, there were fun times. You know, the last time his downfall started during a bye week when we had the LTBB convention. After that, the team totally sucked. And and he was out. So there you go. I can't wait for this game. By the way, the Eagles are going to get smashed by the Giants. Book it. Giants win by double digits. Tanner McKee, he threw a nice ball, but let a defense game plan for you. It's too much talent on the Giants suck. But if you watch last week's game, and I only watched it on Red Zone, but if you watch last week's game, they were trying like it was the Super Bowl. Drew Lock was playing like it was the fourth quarter of a playoff game, the way he was scrambling around. And they have talent on that offense. Neighbors is legit. Drew Lock's not a bad player as a backup or like a fill-in quarterback. And they have the good young running back, Tracy. So I think that this is going to be a double-digit win for the Giants on Sunday. So take them. There you go. Yeah, when Jody Mack said, "Let the Bronco bust." Penn State, Notre Dame. How about that? All right, where are my Northeast people that are clamoring for this game? So I'm a big college football fan. I know locally in Philly, not a big college football town, but I know there are a ton of college football fans out there. It's just a matter of what team do you root for, right? So growing up, I rooted for a combination of Penn State, where they were good, like a bandwagon Penn State fan. The 1988 Notre Dame Fighting Irish, I like that team. It was Tony Rice. When they had Jerome Bettis on some of those teams, Rocket Ishmael, because they had stars on those teams. I love those teams. And then the Hurricanes, when Howard Eskin was a Hurricane fan under Jimmy Johnson in the late 80s, early 90s then, I was a Miami Hurricanes fan. So I don't really, and then Temple when they were good for a couple of years, and I don't care about them anymore. But I'm rooting for Notre Dame, and I'm rooting against Penn State for this reason, because of my allegiance to Temple. Not really, but whenever I have conversations with those smug Penn State fans, and oh my God, they're actually in a semifinal of the college football playoff. What have I done to deserve this? But even before this, when I would point out James Franklin and how much he blew as a coach, oh my God. Hey, you just saying that because your team sucks and you're Temple. Let me be very clear about this. Outside of a couple of years with two coaches, like Temple to me, like me growing up, Temple football was Bobby Wallace and Ron Dickerson. They sucked. The Temple basketball with John Chaney, another story. I love Temple basketball, or I love Temple basketball. Again, I'm a bandwagon fan with them. But yeah, no. So every Penn State fan out there, no. I don't care. I went to Temple because I had no other place to finish college. I was almost 30, right? So that's why I went to Temple. I loved going up to Penn State and partying. I would have never gotten into Penn State. My grades weren't there, and I would have never went there. So just be quiet with this whole thing. I'm jealous and because my school sucks in football or whatever. That's not true. But I'm going to support Notre Dame because their defensive coordinator is Al Golden. How about that? Former Temple Al. He actually is the one that started the transformation of the program. He got hired at Miami, and then Matt Rule came in, and things didn't work out for him at Miami. But he went to Detroit. He coached at Detroit for a little bit as an assistant coach, and then he's been with Notre Dame for 2 seasons now. So I'm rooting for Al Golden and Notre Dame. Now that's a that is a 1.5 point spread. At least that's what I saw it was this morning. They're 1.5 favorites. Penn State or Notre Dame over Penn State. I think that's very much a field goal game. Two similar teams, good defenses. Quarterbacks are limited. They're not going to try to throw the ball all over the place to win. They can both run the ball, kind of like Penn State by a field goal in it. I like their defense, and I like their running. Now I like Notre Dame's coaching over James Franklin. James Franklin's really good at punching down. It's when he's got to punch up or to the side is when he loses. And they beat teams that they should have beaten. They've got really, really lucky with the draw and who they've played and who they've beaten. But sometimes you need a little bit of luck to win. And you don't have to apologize for that. And Penn State's not going to apologize for it. But this is a legitimate opponent. And then they're going to have to face Ohio State because I can't imagine Ohio State losing to Texas. Texas isn't a great team. I think Ohio State rolls Texas, and it's a matter of who's playing Ohio State, maybe being familiar with them because they should have won that game at Happy Valley. Ohio State did not play well in that game, and Penn State had every opportunity in the fourth quarter to win that game. So who the hell knows? But Ohio State's just rolling right now. But Chip Kelly is their offensive coordinator. So there you go. Why was I 30 getting back in school? So when I was finished with high school, I redshirted my junior year in high school, so I spent 5 years in high school. So it's wouldn't be a surprise to most people if my grades weren't great in high school, or I didn't have ambitions of going away to a 4-year university, which I didn't. So I went to Montgomery County Community College for 1, 2, 3 semesters. And if I took 5 classes, I probably dropped 2 of the classes. I did all right, but I had a job and I would rather work than go to school. So I dropped out of community college, worked, took another couple classes at community college, stopped going, worked again. And then it wasn't until my mid-20s I was living in the city and I got diabetes. So I got sick, got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And I said, you know what, F this. I'm going to go back to school. What am I doing? I was working restaurant jobs. I was working in an office. I just actually quit my job. And then I got diabetes. Didn't have health insurance or anything like that. So I said, screw it. I want to go away to college. So I set the goal of going to school in Hawaii. And I enrolled in some classes at Philadelphia Community College. And I went 2 semesters there, did well, applied to school at Hawaii Pacific University. And I moved to Hawaii at 26 years old on a one-way ticket and a suitcase and some traveler's checks. And I moved to Hawaii and I went to school in Hawaii for 2 years at Hawaii Pacific University. It became apparent that if I wanted to work in radio, which I did, that starting in Hawaii was probably not a great place to start. So I transferred to Temple and I finished, and that's where I ended my college career at Temple. And so that's why I was at Temple. I got hired by 950 ESPN at the time, which was the station before 97.5. I was hired there when I was still in school. So I hired full-time too for the morning show before I finished school. So I remember one of the weekend hosts, who was a real dick, because he said it to me kind of to be a dick, but he was calling me the 30-year-old board op because I was 30 years old and I was working on Saturday afternoon for him, making probably $9 an hour, board opping his show. And he kind of was talking down to me, calling me the 30-year-old board op. I won't mention his name because I don't need to totally throw him out there. But yeah, so I remember being 30 years old. But this was before I worked with Mike Miss. So yeah, right before I worked with Mike Miss. So there you go. And then I worked with Mike. Worked with Mike from 2008 to 2012. I'm sure Mike has enjoyed watching the Howard Eskin downfall, because there are, people that don't like Howard. If I worked with Howard at WIP earlier in my career, I don't know if I would like him or not. I can understand Mike not liking him, or maybe some people at WIP not getting along with him. I don't know, but everything that I've ever seen from Howard's always very good to people. And he's always been very, very good to me. So there you go. I am not going to drop his name, and here's why. Because there's nobody out there that knows who he is. He was not in market. He was somebody that was coming up, and he was trying out to kind of be a I guess I should have qualified this. He was coming up to be he's actually from the area, but he was doing some weekend shifts because he was trying to get brought on 950 full time. And he sucked. He really did. He totally sucked. And he didn't get anything. So anything, there you go. If I say something, let me see. If I say anything bad about Tyrone, I'll subscribe, like whatever you want. I honestly, I don't know Tyrone at all. I mean, I don't know. I'll keep it real. He comes off as being, a thin-skinned baby by blocking people and some of his actions. But Tyrone's never done anything to me personally. I met him one time. So and he was nice to me then. I don't know Tyrone, so I'm not going to say I don't like him. I don't listen to the show. I don't watch the show. I'll listen to Mike and Bill Colorillo on my way home from PHLY, which, by the way, I should put this up there again. It's another shameless plug if you're just tuning in. You can watch my show, you can listen to my show, and you can hear me keep it real because I'll talk about everything and everybody. I don't care. Philly with John Marks, PHLY. You find us on YouTube, live on YouTube. So search PHLY. I tweet out a link every morning. You can watch it whenever. So it's just not live. You can watch the show whenever. You can watch today's show. Subscribe, hit the like button, smash the subscribe button, and watch it. Also, it's available on audio podcasts. So wherever you find your podcast, Philly with John Marks, it's uploaded about 9:10, 9:15 every day. And also, they're called fast channels. So right now on Xfinity, if you have cable, and I know a lot of people are like, you're a dinosaur if you have cable. Well, guess what? I am a dinosaur, and I have cable. My guy Vince out there has cable as well. Yes, I pay a lot of money every month for cable. And also, now YouTube has raised their prices. I'm just going to keep cable. But anyway, if you're talking to your remote or you search PHLY, we have our own channel. So around the clock, you can watch the show live. So Sixers pregame, Sixers postgame, Devon, Derek Bodner, Kyle Newbeck, they do their daily show if they're not playing. So they're on there. Anthony Gargano show, he's live every day from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Jamie Lynch is on there quite a bit. The Flyers show, Bill Matz, Charlie O'Connor. Pre-game, post-game, they have their regular show. Broad Street Hockey, amazing. And then the Phillies stuff that we have as well. It's all available right there on Xfinity, on Roku TV, which I have in my basements, and also on Samsung Plus. They're the fast channels. So like for instance, people will appreciate that know me. You can actually watch Cops in Espanol. It's a channel on my Roku TV. I think it's actually on Sling TV. See, one of these free things. It's a channel. So you can watch it. But you know what I watch on this? Dog the Bounty Hunter. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I love Dog the Bounty Hunter. I used to DVR the repeats. I had to stop doing that. I don't think A&E has them on anymore. But I found a channel that has Dog the Bounty Hunter. All right, here's how we can end this. All right. What do we got left? All right, we got 49 minutes. Last 10 minutes. You can questions, comments, suggestions, whoever's on the chat here. Put it up there, and I am contractually bound to answer it. So you put anything up there, I'll be completely honest with everything. Because I am completely honest now. I have no reason to lie about anything. So pop it up there, and I will put it up there. Roku has the most random channels. It's unbelievable. If Bayless, you can literally, I don't think it ever stops scrolling. If you want to watch classic Family Feud with Richard Dawson, there's an entire channel that just plays classic Family Feud. Now, I don't watch it, but I put, I'm just checking out these channels being like, holy shit, what is this stuff? Here we go. You agree Gilio Hughes, the best show on WIP. Are you impressed with their improvement? I think it's a really good show. I've always thought that they had a good show. And I can speak on this, that because I've worked with a number of co-hosts over my career, and like some people, like with Ike, for instance, I started working with Ike November, the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl. It's kind of an easy way to slide in because you have something very organic and easy to talk about, and everybody's juiced up and tuning in. But also having listened to Ike for so many years, and me being a fan of Ike and Ike's style, I just think we matched up very well. So that was a very easy transition. But it's not always easy to start working with somebody that you have never worked with before, right? Like you may have some growing pains. And I'm not saying that Hugh or Joe did that, but sometimes it takes time. And I think I love Hugh. He cracks me up. I think Joe is unbelievably talented, and you may not like what you consider his takes or whatever, but he has very well formulated arguments. I find them thought provoking a lot of times, and I'm a big fan of Joe Giglio and Hugh Douglas. And I also like Mike, and I would say my two favorite shows that I listen to, because I'm very rarely in the car in the afternoon, because if I am, I'm picking the kids up from school and I have my daughter. So I'm not listening to a lot of the afternoon show on WIP. And they're my guys. And I don't ever listen to 97.5 in the afternoon. But I like the midday shows. I do. So anything else here? Where do I rank Jalen Hurts? 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11, 15, 16 to 20. Can say it's always recency bias with quarterbacks, right? A couple years ago, no one wanted Lamar Jackson. Remember that? He wanted a new contract. The Ravens really wouldn't give him what they want. He was available via trade. He was a restricted free agent. A team like the Jets, if they would have given up 2 first-round draft picks, they probably would have had him. But no one wanted to pony up because they're like, oh, we don't really want Lamar. He had some injuries. A lot of people felt like that he could have played in the playoff games, and he didn't because of the contract situation. He didn't play in the playoff games. Man, how would a lot of teams like to have Lamar Jackson right now with the way he's playing? But at the time when he was coming off those seasons, Lamar would have been like 11 to 15, 11 to 16 or whatever. So with that being said, I think you have to look at Jalen Hurts like this, that he may not wow you throwing the football every week, but in the fourth quarter, if you need a drive, I want Jalen Hurts to have the football. He's shown that to me. You say whatever else you want about him, and I probably would say you have a point, but he finds a way to win games. The running aspect of his game, just got coming off a concussion, so I don't know how much, but like, as long as you are designing and building a team the right way around him, he was in a friggin' Super Bowl and he almost won. He's regressed since then as a passer, but they don't really ask him to do a whole hell of a lot of passing. I don't want him throwing the ball 40 times a game. I'm perfectly fine with him throwing between 20 and 30 times, because in the fourth quarter, if you need a drive, he's going to give it to you. So I'll say between 10 and 15 right now. I'm not qualified to answer hockey questions, although I am watching the Flyers this year. All right, let me see here. Other questions here. Did Nick troll the media with Saquon benching info just to stir up the media? Well, I don't. Someone would have to tell me what Carmine's talking about, and I'm not trying to be a dick. Let's cut to the chase. Did Nick troll the media with the Saquon benching info just to stir up the media? What do you like? Why did he not say it right away, or what? He's not going to right after the game say whether or not he's playing or not, because you don't know if he's getting. You don't know if he's getting, like, if he got the 2,000. You don't know what happens before the game, so you can't really say this is what we're going to do. You're going to talk to everybody. You're going to talk to the player. You're going to talk to all the players. I don't think he trolled him at all. I thought he handled the situation perfectly. So I maybe someone can fill me in on exactly what, add some more light to that. Any other questions here that I missed? Because a lot of people did situation. Did the Howard situation make it uncomfortable for Spike? Why is he on radio and his YouTube show does crazy numbers? Does he do crazy numbers when he writes to Ricky? I know he's the top Sixers podcast. Well, because, I'm sure it's more than just this reason, but he can't make as much money as he's making right now at WIP. And yeah, of course it makes him uncomfortable. Would you want to deal with it if this shit was happening with your dad? I mean, I don't know. No, like he's making good money at WIP. I made really good money at WIP. Their ratings are great. Like it was when I was there. He's getting like all right. Let me pull the curtain in. All right. So a bonus for being first, at least for me, and it's probably similar for a lot of the guys. The first place bonus is 20 grand, and that's for a quarter. So if you finish first, there's 4 books in a season. There's 4 books in a year. If you finish first in those 4 books, you get $80,000 in bonuses. So he stepped into a situation where the Fanatic was eliminated in the afternoons. So they're not a competitor anymore. There's really no one to beat you. And he steps into that situation. He steps into the show, and he's done a good job with it, and they remain number 1. So, I mean, and he's doing a fun show. Spike was doing programming for a lot of years, and dealing with egos and dealing with I'm sure dealing with all those people up in New York was not a lot of fun for Spike. And he didn't tell me that. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't want to deal with a lot of these people, a lot of us on-air people. So yeah, I'm sure he's enjoying the show. You know what I mean? It's a good show. My favorite. Oh, hold on a second. Worst show on either station, 97.5 or WIP. Well, ratings would tell you that 97.5 mornings is the least favorite show of people in the Delaware Valley. Andrew Shalchunas, who was once upon a time my intern, and John Kincaid, who's been very good to me over the years. I do not listen to the show. Honestly, I don't listen to the WIP morning show either because I'm not in the car and I listen to other things in the morning. But yeah, like I'm not even going to criticize the show because it's not. For the most part, I'm not going to criticize a lot of the people that do this because it's not easy. But I would just say that the and this is before Andrew, that the morning show on 97.5 has been rejected by the market. So there you go. I enjoy Supermarket Sweep as well. If there's people out there that have ever seen it, how does the jingle go with Bayless? When you go to the checkout aisle and you hear that beep beep beep, think of the fun you could have on Supermarket Sweep. Will I still box Joe to camera? Absolutely, I would box Joe to camera. Yep, 3 rounds. We can even do it. We can even have 2-minute rounds. It doesn't have to be 3-minute rounds. Any type of physical. Whether it be wrestling, I'll get in a slinglet, a onesie. I don't think I could really do any combat. I'm not an MMA guy, but yes, I would love to box Joe to camera. Absolutely. Favorite coworker at PHLY? Talent. I don't really work with anybody. It's me and Tyler. So Jamie Lynch and we work together. When I worked with Anthony, Jamie's an all-time awesome guy. Anthony is an all-time awesome guy. He brought me on PHLY. Love working with him. Violations, Greg. I mean, honestly, Bill Matz, who I know from my days at WIP, Ava Graham's husband. Bill Matz is I love Bill. That Broad Street Hockey, not even being a hockey fan, Broad Street Hockey I love. Bill's awesome. I like Bill having him on my show to talk about whatever. Zach Berman's like all the. I'm telling you, if you haven't watched PHLY, like we have really, really good stuff going on. Really, really good stuff. Julio's still a weasel. Anybody that wants to say that, I say you absolutely can say that. There you go. Do any producers minus Jack have futures as hosts? Who are we talking about? I mean, well, James Seltzer is a host, so I'm not gonna include him. He's more of a host than a producer. I don't even know who's the producer there. Like I said, I'm not. Kyle Quinn's my boy. I listen to the midday show. I think Kyle could do some stuff. Kyle is a wiry $150, straight out of Delco. Absolutely. Eskin Missinelli Bruno Cage match. Who would you root for? Oh man, see, that's a tough one because I would probably say Mike and Howard. So I would eliminate Tony first And I like Tony a lot, and I always thought Tony was one of the most talented people that I ever listened to. I was a big fan of Tony when he did Into the Night, and he had his national shows. Um, I feel a certain way about Mike because I worked with him for 4 years, and I feel a certain way about Howard because my relationship with him. So I'd probably say Mike in a cage match, just because. More Al Morgani on the station. I hear him and John Johnson have this kind of chemistry that is awesome. Yeah. So there you go. So there's the nonsense show. All right. So question about Herb. This is a good one right here. So Herb, actually, it's weird. Herb has been calling me. He didn't call me for a while. And Herb's been calling me. I have how many missed phone calls from Herb over the last couple of days? Just 5 in the last week from Herb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Couple text messages as well. A couple voicemails that I won't play because I'll be nice. But he texted me tonight and he said, did he delete the text? He doesn't know how to delete text, does he? He texted me. I thought he texted, or was it the voicemail? Yeah, it was the voicemail. He's like, oh, you're not picking up. So no, I have not been picking up when he's been calling. What would happen if callers kept bringing up Howard when they call? Yep, you cut them, you dump it, you move on. Is what you do. When I first started working in radio, Kid Chris was a show, and I was on Kid Chris's show. He's in Cincinnati now. I was on a show when the Jason Kelsey stuff was going on. He saw a tweet I put out. And he's like, yo, I got to have you on the show to talk about it. But he's been in Cincinnati now for a while. And he had just like one of the reasons that I love radio so much is that you get people that listen to you that like they are obsessed with radio. So you get fans that'll do whatever they feel like that they want you to do. So we used to get these callers that would call in and say, like, hey, yeah, I want to talk about the Eagles. And I was a producer at the time. This is when I worked mornings, not with Anthony, but there was a morning show with Michael Bradley, Glenn Foley, and Meredith Rockovitz. So I'd answer the phone, and they'd be like, this guy would call and he'd be like, yeah, I want to talk about let's talk about the Eagles. All right, yeah, what's your name? They give me the name or whatever. We didn't have caller ID. And then they get on the air and they'd be like, yeah, so do you think the Eagles are going to win this week? Kid Chris. So I had all these knuckleheads that would call in. They would try to call in and say, hey, yeah, so the Phillies draft. There's this kid Chris that I know that's in the draft, and they would try to sneak these on. So how you would handle that is you dump it, and then you just stop at, and you don't act like anything happened. Because and then you get wise to what the people sound like. And there was this one dude, not kid, and he was actually in high school. I got to know him a little bit because when I say he called for years, and he was blind. I got to know him to where he was blind, and he went to the school for blind in Philadelphia. And he was very tall, and he was a Latino. And he would be just nonstop when I would have Betsy Deming, who was one of my female producers, when she used to answer the phone, he would call her like all these inappropriate names and everything else. He was a real pain in the ass. And you don't have caller ID, so you just can't ignore him. So like you're busy and you got to answer the phone, and it's this dick. So you're like, all right, whatever. So I finally was able to. It's like if you've ever watched The First 48 or that Interrogation Raw, where you have the detective that tries to form a relationship with him to where like they confess to him because they feel like they can trust him and everything will be fine. So this is what I did with this asshole. And I found out that he went to the school blind, and he was really tall, and he was Latino. And I finally was like, yo, dude, I'm going to call the cops and say that you're calling in bomb threats. So you're saying you're going to come to the studio and kill us. It's like, man, I never said that. I'm like, yeah, that's not what I'm going to say. He's like, oh, well, what are you going to tell him? Like, I'm going to tell him that the person doing this is a 6'8" Latino kid that goes to the Philadelphia School for the Blind. I don't think it's going to be hard to find out who that is. And he never called again. Honest to God, he hung up and he never called again. So there you go. What else do we have here? Question about Herb. Broads is terrible. 95 WIP staff sucks. I love Broads, Chris. I love Broads. So when they put them on afternoons at 97.5, that was the worst possible move they could have made. And then they gave him no coaching. And I'm not like the program director who I am friends with there. I wouldn't have done that move. He's a stone cold Knights guy. And then you know what? Then he moves up a little bit when he's at the station. If it's like, you know what, but like he is a stone cold. He's got a style. He's gonna bring it to you. And if you don't like it, then you're not gonna like it. You're not gonna listen, or you are gonna listen, and you're gonna hate on him, or you're gonna love it. And that's what Broads is. He's all sports. He's in your face. He has the way he does it, and I love it. I think he's great. I do. I love Broads, so I will not say anything bad about Broads. I'm a fan. The rest of the staff at WIP, listen, I don't know what to tell you with the part-time people. 97.5, what they've always done is they put a lot of the people that are producers on the air because they don't cost a lot of money. Meanwhile, at WIP, they're staffed 24 hours a day, and it's a union shop. So you're paying them, I think it's minimum $130 a shift if like the union wage is or something like that. And, you know, like if the Fanatic is non-union, so they're pretty much paying you whatever you wanted to. I used to, when I worked over there, when I was producing for Mike, or even before I produced at Mike, when I was part-time, I didn't get paid for doing any of those friggin' shifts. I was like, you give me every shift, I'll take every shift. You don't have to pay me at all. And they didn't. And it worked out. I knew it would pay off on the back end. Are you kidding me? They gave me the keys to a radio station. They didn't have to pay me. I would have paid them for the time, as many people do on radio. So, yeah, I don't know what to tell you about the part-time people. I got nothing bad to say about any of them. What do we got here? Rather hear the worst people to work with on WIP and 97.5. Yeah, I don't really have I don't have bad things to say about anybody that I've worked with. I really, really don't. Someone was asking about Jason Bertitas earlier. Jason has cancer. I was actually just texting with him. It might have been today. It was about the Howard stuff. So yeah, I texted with him today. Yeah, he has cancer. So he is, I don't know exactly what he's put. He put it on social media, so that's why I'm going to say it. But he's shared some of the details with me. Definitely tweet him. I will actually put out his someone in the chat put out his handle, because yeah, he's got cancer. So my understanding is that it's treatable. It's very treatable, and that we're hoping he's going to be good. But yeah, it is. Has 97.5 ever been first the last 10 years? So there has been one show, and 950 ESPN flipped from AM oldies to sports in October of 2005. There has been one show that has beaten WIP in all of those years, and it's the Mike Missinelli Show, which I happen to be the first sidekick / producer in 2008. It took a calendar year. We started off on 9:50 a.m. I'll give you a good story here on this for people that are still watching and like the radio stories. Because we never really had any listeners to the station. When I tell you, because Jody was on the station, he was good. Harry was on the station, he was good. But no one knew we existed. We were starting. Like, they were an AM station. Like, people don't find you on the AM dial. So unless you're a diehard sports radio fan, or somebody tells you about it, you don't know. So it wasn't until Mike came to the station in April in 2008 that people actually were like, "Oh crap, Mike's back on the radio. He's on 9:50 a.m." So we went on a pretty good run: April, May, June, July, August. So it wasn't until it started getting dark early. So when is that? Like October, November. We were gaining on WIP and Howard, but we start getting these phone calls at in the 5 o'clock hour, and it was happening a lot. So I'm getting calls saying like, "Hey, I'm losing your signal, like right when I go over the Walt Whitman Bridge. It was a lot of Jersey people, or I forget where in Pennsylvania, but I remember people saying, I lose you going over the bridge. I lose you on 42. And yeah, so I was like, well, that's weird. So now I'm like email engineering. I'm asking my boss, like, what's going on? So what happened was, because the signal, this 9:50 a.m. signal, was such dog shit that when it got dark out, the signal lost a lot of its power and they had to power down. So not to get too much in the weeds, but there's a 9:50 a.m. station in Canada that is directionally pointed like towards us, to where that frequency 9:50 a.m. would have to power down at night. So literally at 5 o'clock, when it gets dark early, we were losing a lot of our audience because they couldn't get us in. And this wasn't when there were apps to tune in. It was like the only way you were listening is on the dial. And it was like, well, holy shit, how are we going to win with this crappy signal? But it took a year, and we beat WIP, and we beat them. And we became not the first FM station to go sports, but the first in Philly, but one of the first FM stations to go sports. Then in 2009, because of the success that Mike brought to the station. And it's a miracle that any of that happened. And really, Mike would have been the only guy that could have done it. He saved that, he made that station. He really, really did. And so, I mean, you think about it, and if you're a radio fan, Mike coming to 950 changed so much about Philadelphia radio, the history of Philadelphia radio, because 97.5 goes to the FM. WIP very early on sees, we're screwed. We can't compete against an FM signal. And even when I left, it was neck and neck. WIP, who had gone FM, obviously, and 97.5 were neck and neck right when I left, when Joe DeCamber left, when Seltzer left. But like, so WIP then takes over for YSP. So you think about that. WIP, because they were going to start losing, had to flip to the FM dial and eliminated WYSP, which was a heritage rock station, which was suffering in ratings after Howard Stern left radio and went to satellite, went to Sirius. So, like, in that one fell swoop of the Mike Missinelli show, WIP had to go to FM, and YSP was totally eliminated. So that's how it all went down. I love talking about it. So still to this day, Anthony won. When I worked with Anthony, we came really close to beating Angelo. And then Angelo made some adjustments, and then he gained some steam after that. But really, when I worked with Sean Brace and we split the book, so we only had 2 of the 4 hours, we used to because we were on from 12 to 2. So we used to win from 12 to 1, but then we would lose from 1 to 2. Because I think Ant and Glenn at that point came on from 1 to 2. So Anthony would come on and they would win from 1 to 2, but we would beat the final hour of their midday show, which I think was Michael Barkan and Ike, but they would win the 4-hour book. So 97.5 hasn't won anything. And I at this point, when you look at WIP, and for all the people out there who are going to bitch about WIP, and I see it all over social media, WIP, the Antichrist, they suck and everything else. Look at like the ratings that they're doing and the impact that they're having. And you can say it's a negative impact, but they're in the news constantly. If you think about the summer that I had with Bryce Harper and Chuck from Mount Airy and, the Trey Turner stuff and Jack and the standing ovation and everything else, I felt like we were front page headlines everywhere for a while there. So that was a fun run. There is not more money on YouTube if you're only doing a couple days a week. And I'm not telling you Spike's not making money off YouTube. I'm telling you can make a lot of money doing radio. All right, what else do we got? Got here. 80,000 in bonuses per year. Why'd you leave WIP? Yeah, I don't know why I said that out loud. I mean, it was difficult. It was a difficult decision, but I felt like I needed to do what was going to make me happy. And I have done that. And it hasn't been an easy year financially for me. But, like sometimes you got to do what you feel is best and you bet on yourself. And that's what I've done. And this is going to be, a good move for me. I was totally burnt out on the drive down and the hours and everything else. I get to watch my kids in every friggin' practice and game that I want to. I get to have dinner with them every night. I get to pick them up from school every day. I get to do their homework with them when they get home from school. This is what I really wanted out of life. So, this is awesome. It is. It's good. But also, it's a tough decision here. Why do I hate the camera? No, I don't. I don't hate the camera. I like Joe the camera a lot. We were talking about the boxing stuff. It's kind of an inside radio thing. Joe was saying he was a better athlete than me at one point because he said he could beat me in half court basketball. So I said, all right, well we'll play half court basketball, then we'll box afterwards. We're going to talk about being an athlete. All right, well let's do more than just playing half court basketball. Let's box. So no, I don't hate the camera. I like Joe the camera. I do. Like him a lot. Rhea doesn't talk. Does she not talk? I don't listen to the show. When you listen to the show, it's kind of Joe's job not to shut up. Just saying. But when you listen to the show, does it seem like that there's good chemistry with Rhea and the rest of the bunch? Again, I don't listen to the show, but does it seem like, because all right, let's keep it real here for a second. All right. If they would have said, they would have came to me and said, hey, Johnny Marks, we want you and Ike to go to mornings. They would have said, Rhea's going to be on the show. And Jack and Joe Wechter or whatever. They would have said, Rhea's going to be on the show. It changes the entire show. So James, John, and Joe DeCamera were doing a show with those three. And now Rhea is on the show. It changes the dynamic of the show. Would I have been like, okay, cool, Rhea's on the show? I mean, I wouldn't necessarily wanted it. Would I have made it work? Probably. I'm a pretty agreeable person in this business. I'm really not that much of a dick. But if I was constructing a show, I'm like, you want to do a morning show on WIP? Rhea's not going to be on the show. I'm just kidding. I think Rhea's great. Not trying to say anything bad about Rhea. Keeping it real, I wouldn't have wanted her on the show. So, I don't listen to the show. Does it sound like that could be the case with that as well? I don't know. What else do we have here? PHLY doesn't end up like DNVR. Well, DNVR, I don't think that there's nothing wrong with them, right? That's the Denver sister of PHLY. Jason Coletti, my dude, someone needs to create a Pat McAfee style Philly show, and that is what I've done so far on Philly in the first couple months I've been on since September wasn't what I thought I was going to do for the first, for the show. And we're going to change a little bit here. I don't know if anybody at PHLY knows this just yet, but there's going to be, we're going to do things differently in the new year. We got to get through the next couple of weeks so I can do it. But there are definitely I agree with you. That's the kind of show that I want to do. I don't want to do a sports radio show on PHLY. And that's what I feel like I'm doing right now. Will Jack ever leave WIP since he got passed over for Spike? He could leave for WIP if an opportunity came along that he felt like was worth his while, or he became big enough on his own to where he could go work for himself. I don't think it's because he got passed over for Spike. And let me be honest. I think Jack could have handled it very, very well. Jack is as talented as anybody I've ever worked with, and I'm very proud of what he's done. And I knew it from when he was my intern. This kid's really good. But it's okay to not have to be the man that Spike has been in radio longer than I have. He's equipped to handle it. It's not easy. And in the time where Jack took over for me, I thought he did a really good job. But if you give him another year or two to where he's name's on the show. So it's not like that they're like, all right, well, you're the producer. No, it's his show. So the station didn't have to do that. He deserved that. And I've never had a conversation with Jack to where he was unhappy about anything. It takes pressure off him. You don't have like the finger's not going to be pointed at you. You can say your silly shit. You can play your personality of being. You kind of can come in and come out a little bit more than when you're driving the show. So I don't think there's any hard feelings regarding it. Josh and his thoughts. I don't even know if where's he working right now. I know he's gone from his last spot. He was in St. Louis on a rock station. He's a true radio guy. He'll get another job somewhere. I respect him. He's a hell of a radio talent. That's what I think about Josh. John Johnson and Al, the worst duo. So if you think they're the worst duo ever, that means other people think that they're the best duo ever. That's awesome. I love that. All right, a couple more here, and then I have so much stuff I have to do here. I still haven't run the dishwasher. My basement is an absolute disaster. I was playing. I put it out on my Instagram. Get that out of there. Put it out on my Instagram. It was actually a couple Christmases ago. I have the big sorry board. That's not like regular size. It's got like 9x9 or something like that, maybe 6x6. Big sorry. And I had it out today. I was playing with my youngest daughter, and then my kids got home from school and we were playing it. But my basement is destroyed. That's where I'm doing the show from right now. I did not hear Seth and Chuck from Mount Airy go at it on Monday. I'm sure it was awesome. Let's see what I got here. Kid Chris. Yeah. Chris's co-host Sarah she's pretty cool. And why does Mac now hate Chris? Because Chris used to have people call him, prank him. John Johnson, dude, Rob Lakin just hires with no. What do you mean he hired? John Johnson's worked at WIP for like 20 years. What are you talking about? You may not like John or like his style. John Johnson's worked at WIP for as long as I've been in radio, or almost as long. Man, a lot of John Johnson hate right there. Mark Farzetta. Let me tell you, they made a mistake in getting rid of Mark Farzetta. He was finishing top 5. Which every time I worked with Anthony, we finished top 5 because I got bonused. He was finishing top 5 too. They haven't sniffed a top 5 finish since they got rid of him. Steve Trevelise. Do we have Steve Trevelise fans out there? I love Steve. He's awesome. He's overnights. So if you think Steve is bad, he is not bad. Man. He's not bad on overnights. I like Steve on overnights. I listen to his New Jersey 1015 show sometimes. He works nights on New Jersey 1015. I like Steve. Yes, you are old. 20 years, man. Let me see. How funny is ESP long con for the side? Not what does that mean? How funny is ESP? I don't think ESP was never getting the sideline job. Ever. And we really have down here. I never listened to there did the fake and thanks for the call while you hang out. I always hated that he did the fake. Thanks for the call. I mean, not really. Maybe I don't know. Maybe at. So, I mean, I don't know. It's not. I don't know. I don't remember. I mean, maybe at some point I did. I have no problem with disconnecting for whatever, but I didn't do the cookie cutter. All right. Thank you for the phone call. Thank you for calling 94 WIP. I don't know how to respond to that. Here, let's see. There we go. Spike definitely doesn't give an F. I mean, honestly, I think you have to. Like, if I'm going to bring on Andy from Deptford 2 or 3 times a week, I can't just let him do whatever he wants to. I know people hate him, so I have to stick up for the people out there that hate him. Otherwise, people are going to turn him off. So, like, I got to start shit with Chuck occasionally. I can't always be friends with Chuck on the air. We got to fight. You know, OG Wade. I gotta fight with OG Wade. Like, otherwise, it's boring and people don't want to listen to that shit. Yeah, man, that's what Spike's doing. That's what he's got to do. It's get out of here, Ron and Fez. We have a Ron and Fez fan. So I tried out for a show in Atlanta with my guy Giant Brian. Giant Brian worked on the Ron and Fez show before he came up to Philly. He worked with John DeBella. Giant Brian did it on MGK, and so I am somewhere on the Ron and Fez tree because I did a tryout with Giant Brian. So check this out. I went down to Atlanta. This is shortly before I started working with Mike Missinelli. I didn't know Mike was coming to the station. And I went down with Brian, who was working at MGK, worked down the hall, one of our sister stations with John DeBella. He got a tryout down in Atlanta it was Project 961. So it was an iHeart station. And they were more or less 104.5, but they would play Limp Bizkit and Linkin Park and less Dave Matthews. So they had more of an edge to them. And he got a tryout. And I had been doing what I didn't know at the time was a podcast with Brian. We would go in this production studio and we would just do an hour-long show to kind of get chemistry because he thought that he was going to be able to go down and get this tryout. So we would do these shows and we would tape them. We didn't realize we were doing a podcast. Fuck, I wish we would have kept doing it, right? So we went down, did the tryout. We did overnight shows, Friday and the Saturday and the Sunday. And we killed it. I'm like, we're going to get this. We were really, really good because we had heard some of the other tryouts and they sucked. And so I'm like, we're going to get this. Now, unfortunately, he did get it, but the program director, whose name's Ryan Williams, and he is no longer working in radio. He just got out of radio. He ended up working his way up the food chain at iHeart and became like a programming guy he failed his way to the top, honestly, because that station failed and those shows failed. But he wanted somebody else, which was fine. He already had somebody else in mind for the second microphone of the show. And so but he wouldn't email me back to tell me. So I was just like, hey, what did you think? And he just, not one time did he ever email me back, which pissed me off. Like he could have just said like, hey, I thought you were really good or I thought you sucked, whatever, but I'm going to go with somebody else. Didn't email me back at all. So Brian got the job and he worked with this guy that last I saw, and I don't think he's in radio anymore. He was doing sports in Grand Rapids, Michigan. He was doing sports radio in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So yes, I follow what these people that I got passed over for. So Brian lasted 3 or 4 years. His contract wasn't renewed. He's selling real estate and doing well in Pittsburgh. And then I mentioned, so who took over for Giant Brian? Kid Chris. Kid Chris had the morning show in Atlanta. And then when they flipped out of being a rock station, that's when Chris went to Cincinnati. So there you go. Couple more. Gonzo and Vi. Yep. Love the Gonzo and Vi show. Tyrone's unlistenable. Love Devon Gibbons. Devon is my guy. Aren't the ratings built into the main sponsorship of the Eagles and Phillies? Aren't the ratings? I mean, I don't know. I don't know that. No, there's no ratings. Ratings are how much you listen to the station. A lot of Tyrone hate. Listen, I don't know what to tell you. Rhea doesn't fit. Beat the Hammer's the most cringe thing ever. I mean, they brought it. I don't, whatever. I don't know what to say. Yeah, like I think it's a tough situation for everybody there. Rhea was just kept there. It is what it is. She doesn't fit the John Joe dynamic. Yeah, she worked with Angelo for however many years. All right, so here's what I would have done with Rhea, right? I would have moved her to midday updates and made her the third microphone with Hugh and Joe, and I think that would have been she would have been really, really good on the show. And then she could have, because Rhea's biggest asset is her sales relationships and her relationships with teams. So she could literally book interviews for the stations and just like keep the relationships with the teams and her sales relationships, and then probably been happy doing the midday show. I don't know any of the insight. I'm just kind of stating the obvious to what I've seen, but like no one told me any of this crap. I think this is what I see. But like I don't know if she would have liked that or not. Back to DNVR, sister station of PHLY. No, they got rid of a lot of their baseball coverage. So there you go. I saw John Ritchie is now dating Alicia Roberts from CBS 3. There you go. I saw that. Client endorsers. I agree. I believe I'm the best client endorser in Philadelphia, at least on radio. Anthony's very good. John Kincaid's very good as well. Yeah. There you go. What else do we have? Oh, we're on Josh and stuff. Sorry, there's a lot of comments here, and I'm just getting through some that were sent a long time ago. Oh, that's a good one. Do you think that now I'm an hour 30, so I really got to wrap this up soon. Seems like Beasley, well, the Fanatic, it's been failing miserably. You think the Fanatic survives? I mean, yeah, it's going to survive. It still makes money. Are the ratings what they once were? I mean, no, but they're not that far off from what they were before. I mean, the only real difference is Mike's not there putting up first place numbers or second place numbers or third place numbers. I mean, even when they got rid of Mike was we were still doubling him. Well, like he was still putting up numbers. So if we were doing, let's say, a 16 share and he's doing an 8 share, well, there were times an 8 share would get you a first place finish because it wasn't so lopsided. WIP afternoons, it's lopsided at the top now. So even Mike giving you an 8 share is still significant because they're only doing 3s and 4s now. And they've actually improved over the years with Tyrone and Ricky because they've stayed with them. But I mean, they're not doing top 5s or anything like that. So like that's the only real difference. Middays is with Michael probably improve. Mornings, Mike was mornings for a while. They weren't doing shit. Anthony's ratings were much better at the beginning. And Mark did pretty well, but yeah, like that's the morning ratings aren't good. And it kind of is what it is at this point. It did. All right. Few more here. Few more. Joe DeCamera needs to stop talking. Makes him unlistenable. Well, people would disagree. They're putting up huge numbers in mornings. So you may not like it, but whatever. Thank you for the take. I think Rhea would have been great on the midday show. That's what I would have done if I was the program director. And by the way, I would never want to be a program director, but like if I got a phone call that said you want to be a program director somewhere, as long as I would be part of the on-air stuff. See, here's what I would do if I was the Fanatic. I would turn it into a local Barstool / Pat McAfee show. You're still going to talk about Philadelphia sports or whatever, but everything becomes inside. I'm the program director, and I am very much on air as program director. And it's just like everybody busts everybody else's stones. Was there a caller I actually hated? Probably Andy from Deptford. Not hated, but like he really used to bother me. So I would say Andy more than that because Andy would get personal with me. Other than that, yeah. Justin in Tennessee's here. What's up, feller? Marks and Reshow was excellent. What's up, feller? How are you? Anything else? Am I finally at the bottom? Right there. All right. Rod and the Lady Ray. Greg. The fact that people are on here, you make me want to stay up to 2 a.m. with these. Rod and the Lady Ray, which was the first overnight show. First overnight show in the history of WIP. They used to have, how about this, Vince? They used to have Bill Zimfer. He would come on at 5 o'clock in the morning. And he would do like an hour of news and then lead into Angelo. And then Angelo would go on the air. They were not 24/7 until Rod and the Lady Ray. I would love to know what year that would be. But yeah, I remember Rod and the Lady Ray. It's obviously before Big Daddy. Did Big Daddy take over after Rod and the Lady Ray? They were a husband-wife combo that like I said earlier with Steve Trevelise, when you do overnights, you talk less sports. If people listen to overnight radio, listen to the Ben Maller show on Fox Sports Radio. I listen to it every morning, and then I listen to John Johnson on my way into PHLY. But when I get up at 4 o'clock to make the kids' lunches. It's hilarious. And he talks sports, but he just has regular callers, and they're all nuts. I worked overnights on weekends at CBS Sports Radio. If it didn't kill me physically, it was my favorite shift of anything that I've ever done. I built an audience of idiots that used to call in all the time. And I absolutely positively, it took about 6 months. And then they're like, you know what? I totally get what this guy's doing. And it was awesome. Awesome. I loved it. I missed that. They fired me because I talked about Odyssey's bankruptcy. So they wouldn't let me work for him, which is understandable. But those overnight shifts were absolutely killing me. Killing me. Yeah, well, I'm trying to, I have a broader platform called PHLY. I just have to get people over there to watch. That's my job. I haven't done that so far. And I just wanted to kind of get my feet set and figure out, honestly, with every show that I've ever done on radio, you think you know the show that you're doing when you go into it, but it's not always the case of what the show actually turns into or it turns out to be. Not always. So, I didn't know what the show was going to be. I didn't know what the digital format was going to be like. I didn't really know what the audience was going to be. I'm still trying to figure that stuff out. But I know that I have to do something different for people to catch on, for it to matter. Otherwise, I'm going to have a couple hundred people watching me every day. I mean, honestly, when I was doing nights, when I was doing this at night with Delco Steve, Monday through Friday, I had more people listen to me at night. Now, people are on their computers and watching at night, not at 8 o'clock in the morning, but you get what I'm saying. Like, I got to grow this thing. And there hasn't been a morning digital show or podcast show, live show in the market right now. And I have the opportunity to do it. I just got to, I got to take advantage of it. And I haven't done that. And that's what I'm going to try to do. I've had Trey Thomas on my show, PHLY show, multiple times. And I love Trey. Trey's awesome. Trey is awesome. Talking about some of the favorite people that I've worked with. Trey's one of those guys. We did Tuesdays with Trey before he went to Fanatic to do mornings. He was on with Ike and I, and that was a lot of fun. He was awesome. We were at the Super Bowl. We did Radio Row at the Super Bowl with Trey like 3 of those days. Oh my God. Talk about the time of my life. Like there's times in my radio career where, like, when you're doing 5 days a week, a lot of times you're filling 4 hours. And you're trying to do your show and you're trying to make it to Friday. And then, so you get a couple of days off and then you come back and rinse and repeat. There's times that you look at and you're like, wow, I got the broadcast from 2 Super Bowl Radio Rows. I was in Minnesota at the Mall of America. It was minus 10 degrees outside. My iPhone froze when I was trying to FaceTime with my wife outside. That I was sitting in Radio Row with Ike and Trey Thomas, and T.O. came over to the table, and Dan Marino and whatever. It's like you pinch yourself and be like, man, that was awesome. So yeah, man, it was awesome. All right, everybody. Anything else? Sonny Hill, listen. The only person I thought that could outlive Sonny Hill on the radio would be Howard. And Howard, obviously, that didn't happen. Although Howard, is alive. He's just not on. I don't know how many people are listening to the living room with Sonny Hill, but Sonny Hill, when I had my daughter, my second daughter, Sonny Hill sent me an email and said, congratulations. And that meant the world to me because Sonny Hill's a big deal in this town. He really is. He's a legend. So, and I don't listen to the living room with Sonny Hill. Come on. It's almost like a grilled cheese with tomato soup. There we go. All right, that's not nice. Come on, Sonny. Sonny's got to. Sonny's been doing it for a long time. He is. All right, there you go, everybody. If you're just tuning in right now, I addressed the Howard Eskin situation, so you can watch it whenever you want to. Just go to the very beginning and I address it. And then I just babbled for the last hour and probably 20 minutes. But thank you. I've been streamed in a couple of weeks, so this was a good one. So just remember, No, Carmine. I gotta do it. So how about this? Here's what you do. You just subscribe to me on YouTube and you watch the show when I do it, because I still do it during the week at night. And you should really tune into this show right here. I'm trying to make this show, what I did tonight, my PHLY show. It's difficult to do because I'm in a studio and I have all this equipment and it's not the look that I want. But anyway, it's still a good show and it's getting better. Tyler Zuli's my producer. PHLY Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. It's available on YouTube. Smash the subscribe button, but you should definitely be checking me out. And I'll put this out there again. You see the at John Marks Media. That's Twitter, Instagram. It's also johnmarksmedia@gmail.com. DMs are open. Slide in and say hello. I'd appreciate to hear from everybody out there. Everybody's always been so good to me, especially after I left WIP. The thousands of messages that I got from people wishing me well, that still reach out to me and say hello, they miss me and everything else on WIP. So I appreciate talking to everybody. But thank you, everybody. It's cool. It's cool tuning in. Now I have an outro here that I have to play. Normally Delco Steve does this when I do it, and they changed a lot of because what I've learned on YouTube is you can't use any music that's not like music you can use, or you can't monetize it. Not that I make any money off of this, but you can't monetize it. So they give you this in this program that we use, StreamYard. They give you this generic music that you can use without them bouncing you. Here it comes. This is like bong hit. Not really any type of acid, but like really like a really like bad bong hit. You're like, holy crap. All right, everybody. See ya. I'm going to do this again, but follow me on YouTube, Instagram. Watch me on PHLY. See ya.